Tell me in the comment box, where are you seeing this video? The room smelled like something had been baking since morning. Family photos lined every shelf, and the whole place had that comfortable, lived-in feeling that was supposed to make you feel safe. Maya sat at the kitchen table with her coffee, watching her 4-year-old son Eli toddle around the living room, delighted by absolutely everything the way only small children can be. He was wearing a striped shirt and mismatched socks, his little face open and curious about the world. Grandma Helen moved through the kitchen with the kind of practiced efficiency that comes from decades of doing things a certain way. She wasn't an unkind woman, she just had her methods, and she'd never really questioned them. Elisa spotted the ceramic dish on the coffee table. Star-shaped sugar cookies sat inside it, and his whole face lit up the way faces do when you're 4 and you see something wonderful. He reached out one pudgy hand toward them. The smack came fast, sharper than a correction, harder than a warning. Helen's hand came down on his without even looking up from what she was doing, and the sound of it cut right through the quiet room. Eli froze. His face moved through confusion, then shock, then that deep, trembling silence that comes right before a small child cries. He pulled his hand back against his chest and looked up at his mother. Maya was already on her feet. She didn't say a word to Helen. She just walked over, crouched down, and pulled Eli into her arms, holding him close and rubbing slow circles on his back while he buried his face in her shoulder. Her jaw was tight. Her whole body was tight, but she didn't make a scene. Not yet. A few minutes later, once Eli was distracted by a toy car and the room had settled back into its false sense of normalcy, Maya slipped into the back hallway and pulled out her phone. She stood there for a moment, staring at the screen, then started typing to David. The words came out fast and unfiltered. "Your mom just smacked Ellie's hand hard. Said not for you about a cookie," he cried. "I'm sitting here trying not to lose it. What do I do?" 3 dots appeared immediately. He was already typing. "What? Is he okay?" She typed back quickly. "He's fine now, but I am not fine. That wasn't okay." That was the kind of thing you don't do to someone else's child without asking. "He's for yours." Old David's reply came without hesitation. "I know. I'm so sorry. Come home whenever you're ready. But don't say anything there that you'll regret." Maya exhaled. She leaned against the wall and looked up at the ceiling for a long moment, gathering herself. When she walked back into the kitchen, Helen was setting things out for lunch like nothing had happened. That was almost the hardest part, the absolute normalcy of it. The way the moment had already been filed away and closed in. Helen's mind. Maya sat down at the table and folded her hands. She kept her voice calm and quiet. She told Helen they needed to talk about what had happened. Helen didn't stop moving at first. She said Eli was getting into the cookies, that they were for after dinner, that she had tapped his hand the same way she'd done with her own kids, and that was just how children learned. Maya listened. Then she said what she needed to say. She told Helen that wasn't how she was raising Eli, and that when someone disciplined her son physically without coming to her first, it put her in an impossible position. She either stayed silent and felt like she'd failed to protect him, or she spoke up and risked turning the whole day into a fight. She said she didn't want to fight. She just needed Helen to understand that Ellie's face in that moment had mattered more to her than any cookie. Helen went still. Her hands rested flat on the counter. The silence between them stretched out, and for a moment it could have gone either way. Then Helen said quietly that she hadn't thought it was a big deal. Maya told her she knew that. But for Eli it had been. He had looked terrified, and that was what she couldn't let go. A few minutes later, Eli wandered back in between them the way children do, offering up his toy car to Helen with complete and easy forgiveness, and burdened by everything. The adults in the room were still carrying. Helen crouched down to his level. Something in her face shifted. It took effort, but it was real. She asked him if it was a fast one. He told her it was the fastest. She smiled a small, genuine smile, and then straightened up and said to Maya quietly that she would ask next time, that she hadn't meant to scare him. Maya gave a small nod. It wasn't everything, but it was enough for right now. She reached out and briefly rested her hand on her mother's arm. And they stood there in the kitchen together without saying anything else. On the drive home, Eli was asleep in the back seat, still clutching the toy car, his breathing slow and even, completely at peace. Maya had her phone in her lap and was rereading the thread with David. She typed one last message. She told him they had talked, that Helen had heard her, that Eli was okay and she was okay, but that she didn't want to keep letting things like this slide. He deserved better than that, and honestly, so did she. David's reply came before she even set the phone down. You handled it perfectly. I'm proud of you. She locked the screen and looked out the window at the passing streets. And she exhaled, long and slow, like she'd been holding that breath since the moment she heard the sound of Helen's hand coming down.